Chapter 5, The Book of Hackett. In the beginning, Hackett Associates created a traditional neighborhood development. New industry had moved into the old town of Broadacre, and it was good. But the multitudes who followed gnashed their teeth and tore their garments. They called out for salvation, as they could find no housing in which to live. But lo, they cried, we are want for new condos, and for new townhomes, and for new McMansions, and for lush green lawns, and for retention ponds stocked with fish and having small lighted fountains in them, and for Americanized ethnic restaurants, and for manicured parks, and for tasteful classical sculpture without the offensive trappings of modern art, and for homogeneous mailboxes, and for home improvement stores, and for conspicuous consumption, and for good schools with some, but not too many minorities. Oh, shall we be forced to lie in a manger? No, said Robert Hackett, CEO of Hackett Associates, who heard their cries. I will make a place suitable for you. A parcel of earth was chosen, 5 miles north of Broadacre, and across the great river Salamone. 4,000 acres were cleared, turned, and graded. Thus the countryside became formless and void, and the creative spirit of Bob was hovering over the land. And Bob said, "Let there be light," and the contractors brought in gasoline generators and halogen flood lamps to illuminate the site in the darkness. Bob saw that the light was good, and he called it profitable to continue construction into the night without ceasing. There was evening, and there was morning, the first day. And Bob said, "Let there be no great separation between areas intended for housing and those intended for recreation and commerce." So Bob laid out a grid with small lot sizes, well-connected streets with sidewalks, plentiful public spaces, and mixed-use development. And it was so. Bob looked upon the neighborhood plan with stores, parks, and houses of worship near to the homes where the residents would live, and he called it walkable. And there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. And Bob said, "Let there be made buildings exquisitely designed in the architectural styles of the past." And the architects made it so. There were homes designed in the style of Second Empire, in the style of Greek Revival, in the style of Queen Anne, and in the Italianate style. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the third day. And Bob said, "Let there be parks, green spaces to be shared by all residents." And it was so. Playgrounds were constructed, with swings and with slides and with monkey bars. Bike paths wound through groves of newly planted shade trees. Flowers and shrubs and decorative grasses were arranged according to their kinds. And Bob saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. And Bob said, "Let the excess waters be managed so that the community is not inundated during a storm." And it was so. Sustainable stormwater management systems were introduced to direct the flow of waters into retention ponds, and into combined sewer systems, and into the Salamone River. And Bob saw that it was good, and there was evening, and there was morning, the fifth day. And Bob said, "Let access be controlled in order to prevent crime." And it was so. Intricate wrought iron gates were installed at each entrance of the community, along with a guardhouse, so that the comings and goings of the citizenry could be monitored, and so that undesirables would be kept away. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. And Bob said, "Let there be made a place for the people to worship." And it was so. The community was designed with a traditional early 20th century style wooden church at its center. Boxy and white, with a tall steeple and colorful Gothic stained glass windows, the church was lighted at night so as to make it visible for miles around. Bob recommended for the pulpit his family's longtime pastor and friend from Ohio, the Reverend Terry Cleghorn, who accepted the position and transferred to the new church. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the seventh day. And Bob said, "Let there be spaces for business and for civic use." And it was so. Developers created mixed-use blocks with businesses located on the ground floor, restaurants and barbershops, and hardware stores and realty offices and banks. Above the businesses were constructed residences, apartments and condominiums and townhomes. Separate buildings were made for services and governance, a fire station and a police station, and a town hall. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 8th day. And Bob said, "Let the community teem with living creatures, each according to their kind." And it was so. The ponds were stocked with fish, bluegill and crappie and bass. A small flock of snow geese was purchased and released in the community in the hope that they would make it their home and return year after year. As the grass and trees grew, other species moved in, squirrels and deer and frogs. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 9th day. And Bob said, "Let there be lights in the night time, to promote safety and to allow the use of outdoor spaces at all hours." And it was so. Workers installed street lights, smooth, perfect towers of iron and glass to cast their orange glow. And Bob saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 10th day. And Bob said, "Damn it, this is taking a really long time." He looked over the progress that the contractors were making and yelled at them to get the lead out. It was not so good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 11th day. Finally, the traditional neighborhood development called North Broadacre was completed in all its vast array. By the 12th day, Bob had finished the work he had been doing, so on the 12th day he rested from all of his work. Then Bob blessed the 12th day and declared it a holiday, to be celebrated with fireworks and a parade through the main boulevard. After serving as the master of ceremonies for the first official North Broadacre Day, Robert Hackett took a 2-week cruise with his family. After all, he thought, even God needed some rest.